1. The place I work is closed on Monday. My day off is Tuesday and Thursday. So I start my week on Wednesday. During the night, I had a table ask me, "I have a question for you. Do you really love your job?" "I'm just asking because you're always in such a good mood and smiling, and I rarely ever see you flustered even when it's busy." I would rather give people attentive service at a regular pace than speed around. This just means timing things efficiently. And I actually kind of had to think for a second. I was like, actually, yes, I do. The location is absolutely amazing, and my owner is one of the fairest owners I've worked for in this industry. He's not above going behind the dish pit and washing dishes. I remember at one of the Christmas parties one year, after we rolled up a joint and I walked outside, I remember walking back to the kitchen and I saw him doing dishes. He would never tell one of his employees to do something that he wouldn't do, and I really respect that. But the question from the table really made me realize how lucky I am to have found this restaurant. Not only is it literally within walking distance from my house, I still drive there, but it's literally 2 blocks away. I definitely have to say I am very happy there. I get along with everybody that I work with. Everybody is really cool with covering shifts and being there for people who are sick, etc. Really good company environment, to be honest. I am actually one of the newest hires in the past 3 years. That was one of the things they told me when I started. They don't have a lot of employee turnover, at all. I got lucky by finding their Facebook post, because it's basically my local tavern and grill. Me and the owner also used to work for the same guy back in the day, which is funny because he was a whack job, and we had a bunch of stories about him. Not to get too off topic, but this one old boss that I worked for got angry at one of the servers for not putting the grapes and a slice of orange in the proper face position on the plate. So as he was walking out with a full tray of breakfast in his hand, he literally just put his foot out and tripped him completely maliciously. One of the craziest things I've seen in a kitchen. Very happy to be working for a great family-owned spot, and I enjoy that my tables see that I enjoy it. Doesn't hurt with the tip either. I have gained many regulars that ask for me when they come in weekly. Have even given me Christmas cards and stuff. Pretty cool. I'm glad after having such a chaotic life, I finally landed at a stable spot, and yes, I can admit, I actually do love my job. Life is getting expensive, and it's definitely nice to be able to consistently put cash into the bank. The cool thing about always being available to cover people's shifts and being very flexible on that end is that when you need to call out, it's always understood. The policy at my job is you are supposed to get coverage for your shift. I think my boss respects that no matter how sick I am, I always try to come in. P.S. Something that was very eye-opening to me was when one of the girls I worked with was talking to her grandma about how much they make in a week, and her grandma is a registered nurse. They got to talking and found out that being a server, she actually makes the same, if not more, than her grandmother. 2. I started working at this steakhouse in Florida a few months ago. I began to see problems pretty quickly, like servers not doing their side work and the managers not saying or doing anything about it. So when I come in and the server station is not stocked, I have to do it. There are items I need during my shift, like to-go items, sauces, etc. So when these things are not stocked the night before, I have to do it. Not only that, but the management doesn't seem to give 2 craps at all. One of the managers is only 23 years old and should not be in that position to begin with. She still serves sometimes too and never does side work at all. Some other things about the restaurant that bother me. It's infested with roaches. We sweep up dead roaches every time we go in. The cook, who has been there for years, told me that the health inspector is paid off because they get an A. There is no way in hell they would ever get an A without getting paid off. The place is disgusting. Some of the walls have holes in the drywall and are just nasty. The owner or management doesn't seem to care at all. We have this back room that they open up for parties or when they get really busy. The floor in that room is coming apart. It is this cheap hardwood vinyl floor. That room also smells like a horse lives in it. It smells like complete crap, and if the back room door is open, the smell will seep out onto the main floor. One day, a customer was complaining about the men's room smelling awful. He complained to the 23-year-old manager, and she said, "Oh, we don't go in there." She deflects and takes responsibility for nothing. I have complained to her before about things not getting done, and she says those things don't happen on her shift. These things happen on all the managers' shifts. We have 3 managers. I recently cut my schedule down to only 2 days a week because my nerves cannot handle more than that. Also because this is my side job. The only reason I have not walked out and quit already is that I do make really good money here. This place could be so much better if the managers actually cared. I'm debating on contacting the health department. Do it. The cooler that holds the salads does not work and apparently has not worked for over a year. They have multiple sinks that leak. Another thing, every time I would go to work, my nose would start running. It would not run all day, but as soon as I got to work, it started running. I told the manager that I think there is mold in the vents. He said that he was sick his first 3 months of him working there. He basically told me that I would build up immunity to it. Now that I have been there a few months, my nose doesn't run every shift, but almost every shift. Guess I built up some immunity. For crying out loud. I tried contacting the owner of the company, but he would never get back to me. Apparently, other servers in the past have talked to him to try to improve things, and nothing improves because the owners don't care. They make money, and that is all they care about. The turnover rate for servers seems to be high, too. There are a handful of people who have been there for years, and I don't know how they've lasted for that long. This place is popular, and people continue to come in and eat. The food is good, but the place is so nasty. The people who clean are young teenagers who don't care about anything. Working with the younger Gen Z folks is a nightmare. They are so lazy and entitled. I'm in my mid-30s and I work hard and do exactly what I'm supposed to do. There are many more issues that I could complain about, but this should give you a good picture of what's going on. Someone, please give me some advice. Do I go to the health department? Do I just quit and do nothing to try and make changes? What would you do? Update. I quit and sent a long message to one of the owners about the problems. I heard nothing back. I found a much better place to work the same day I quit. Yeah. 3. A couple came in with their service dog right after I got cut maybe a couple of hours ago. One of the other ladies took them, and immediately I knew these people were going to be a problem. The dog was refusing to listen to any commands, running up to people as they passed and barking loudly and constantly. The guy kept calling the dog his service puppy. The dog had the harness and the patch on it and a do not pet patch and everything, but all other signs pointed to an untrained dog with a label slapped on it. At one point, the guy who the service dog was presumably for, considering he kept talking about being in the Navy and, "This is what you get when you have a service dog," every time she did something that disturbed other guests, went to the bathroom without the dog. He left the dog and his wife, and in response, the dog freaks out. She's whining, barking, trying to run to the bathroom to go get him. As a pet owner who has had animals with separation anxiety, that's exactly what it looked like. The real kicker was when my friend brought out their food. The dog jumped on her. With 2 full arms of food, the dog jumped on her. Then, while the guy was trying to hold her back, she slipped out of the harness and went to try and run around the restaurant. Luckily, the lady caught her in time before she got the chance to run. We had asked our manager to say something before, but he said, "Unfortunately, we don't have many rights when it comes to service animals." Immediately I said, "Wrong. Yes, we do." I told him you're allowed to ask what tasks the animal is supposed to perform, and if they're disturbing the establishment, you are legally allowed to ask them to leave, damn right. I also told him that if they try to claim that they have a service animal certificate, card, or license, that's usually an immediate red flag, as a service dog registration isn't real, and websites that say they register service animals aren't recognized by the ADA. When I told him that the dog jumped on the other server, that's when he went and said something. This guy hands my manager a card saying that their animal is a registered service animal. It's obvious it's fake due to the dog's behavior and the fact that this registration is illegitimate. And my manager stood his ground, thankfully. They got angry and didn't finish their food, saying they're not going to eat someplace where my dog is questioned after I showed you my card. Their server had to brown-nose her way up to a $3 tip because they weren't going to leave her anything. All of this to say that service animals are medically necessary pieces of equipment, and it is stated by the ADA that all service dogs must be individually trained to perform specific tasks and aid a person with a disability. Faking a service dog sets a bad precedent for those who truly need these animals in order to go about their day-to-day safely and healthily. Please know your rights as a business to call out these people who abuse the terminology and take advantage of those who don't know any better to be able to bring their pet into restaurants with them. I'm so livid that some people think this is okay. 4. Lately, I've been hard on myself about my lack of knowledge in the kitchen. My lack of experience and classical training has put me behind my peers. While self-criticism can be useful, I sometimes fall into a doomier mindset. But I had an epiphany. For so long, I've heard my old chef's voices in my head. You're getting paid to do a job, so do it well. Have integrity in your dish. Give people an experience. But those words never fully stuck because they weren't my own. Today, they finally became clear in my own voice. Cooking isn't about skill, technique, or speed. It's not just about executing the perfect plate or pushing tickets out on time. It's not about ego, looking impressive, or chasing prestige. Cooking is about the moments food creates in people's lives. It's about the couple on their first date, not knowing they'll spend 50 years together. The families celebrating a graduation, the widow stepping out for the first time in months, learning to be alone again. Friends reconnecting over a meal after years apart. The college student who saved up for 2 weeks to treat themselves after passing their exams. Even the regular who comes in every Wednesday, ordering the same dish, the same way. These moments, big and small, matter, and I get to be part of them, even if no one knows my name, even if they never see me in the kitchen. I had a hand in something meaningful. That's what cooking is to me. But this job is hard. It's dirty, exhausting, and relentless. You're on your feet for hours, moving fast, sweating, dodging burns, lifting heavy trays, wiping grease from your arms, scrubbing food stains off your skin. You smell like the kitchen long after you leave. You're cleaning constantly, getting other people's food and spit on you. Pushing through fatigue because service doesn't just stop because you're tired. The weeds hit fast. And when you're in them, it's survival. Getting dishes out, keeping up, making sure nothing stinks. It's discipline, pressure, and problem solving every single day. And yet, despite all of that, I don't just want to show up, clock in, and get through the day. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to be better. Not just for myself, but for the people who sit down at a table and have a moment that matters to them. Because that's what food does. It connects people, even in the smallest ways. Some days will be hard. Some days I'll just be trying to make it through service. Some days motivation will fade and I'll feel stuck. But at the end of the day, I chose this. Cooking gives me creativity, structure, and discipline. Things that extend beyond the kitchen. Even if I don't do this forever, what I've learned here will stay with me. So when I start to question why I'm doing this, I want to remember not just the work, but the why. Because as long as I hold on to that, I'll always find a reason to keep going. 5. Been in the biz for 13 years, since I was 21. Started off as a dish chore boy at some Filipino spot in Brooklyn. Did more savory, fine dining, did a few fast food stints, and between gigs, fell into pastry right 3 years before COVID hit. Took a year off from working to do a pastry course at a school in New York. That was about 2019-2020. I'm now 34, a CPD in a patisserie, and I'm just not feeling it anymore. I handed in my 1-month resignation notice last week to the head chef to almost no reaction. All I was told was to write an email to the owner of the spot and to CC the head chef into it. I know line cooks and chefs in savory have it tough. I've done my share of 8-hour shifts that have become 12-hour shifts that become back-to-back clopens. I've been that guy shouting into his hat in the walk-in, as you tell the new guy, "It's fine, just clean it up," when they accidentally knock over half the line's meat setup 15 minutes before open. It's bloody rough. Pastry hours, though. Man, I don't know what it is. In my mid-20s, I was relishing the night owl life. Getting up at 3 a.m. and taking empty trains in Manhattan, with the 1 or 2 occasional homeless guys keeping to themselves, and the other early a.m. workers, was relaxing. Commuting into the city during COVID lockdown was genuinely enjoyable. Legit, I've never seen New York subways that clean and probably never will again. Today's New York just isn't the same. Without getting too weird with it, it just doesn't feel safe at certain hours and places anymore. Sad, really. Now I'm 34. I'm getting up at 3 a.m. to commute into the city for a 5 a.m. open, but you're late if you aren't ready to go by 4:45. I'm scheduled to be there from 5 p.m. to 1 p.m., but we all know how that goes. I get out around 2 or 3 p.m., and instead of asking myself, what can I do with my day? It's, how much time do I have before I have to be in bed to get up at 3 a.m. again? I'm so physically cooked after my shifts that I've started to regularly miss my train stop on the ride home because I'm KO'd. I think about people with important jobs like doctors, nurses, or cops or firefighters. Them getting up at 3 a.m. or being on call at weird hours makes sense. I'm getting up at 3 a.m. to make sure laminated pastries and bread proofed correctly. And for what? My days off are on my back, recovering my feet after a week of standing. I barely have any energy to get regular errands like grocery shopping and laundry done. I can't count how many times I've wanted to just no-show quit. The worst part, I've lost the joy for it all. I used to love making random pastries and baked goods for my friends and family on my off time on the weekends. Now I can't even stomach cooking for myself after a day of work, because the idea of doing more dishes, no porter in the patisserie by the way, of course, legit puts me on edge. My days off are dead center in the middle of the week. Haven't seen my family in months, missed my dad's birthday. I'm on the train at 4 a.m. asking myself, what am I doing with my life? Why am I going through some physically and emotionally exhausting bull for dirt to decent pay to make food? And it's not just pastry, but the industry in general. What am I doing with my life? If it's not working under a chef at a bakery or kitchen getting yelled at or dealing with passive aggressiveness, it'd be me on the other side chewing out some bakers or line cooks. And for what? It's food. Just food. I've been telling my friends and family I want out of the industry, straight up. While my friends are more positive about where I can take my skills and experience, my family hasn't been so kind. I know they're worried about the job market, but I just cannot do this anymore. I walked off the line after finishing off all the pastries before morning service and handed in my keys to the Sioux. The messed up thing? I'm looking at cooking, but just in the industrial and private sectors like schools or nursing homes. I know it'll just be more of the same with a different coat of paint. I want out, and I think it's for good. To those who got out, please point me in a direction, any direction away from a kitchen. Hey everybody, Hellraiser here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 270. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit the like button, and subscribe if you'd be so good. It does help YouTube recommend the videos to other people. They need that little bit of push to know that you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to support the channel, you can sign up for my Patreon, which is located in the description. There's a link that takes you right to it. You can support there for $1 or more if you'd like a month. We don't do tiers on Patreon. It's just whatever you feel to help the channel along. In exchange for that, you get early access to the videos on Monday all at once. You'll also find a link in there to the Hellraiser merchandise store if you haven't yet got yourself some Hellraiser merchandise. And you can leave a tip for this or any other video by clicking on the heart with a $sign on a more one-off basis. We do also have channel memberships. If you'd prefer to keep things here on YouTube, you get a few little bonuses, and those are tiered, unlike Patreon. Okay, I think that's all the business for today, so let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, what is the last piece of kitchen equipment that you bought? Or the last thing you bought for your equipment. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just something you bought for your kitchen that wasn't food. With me, I bought two things. I bought a frying pan. Then I realized, okay, I better be responsible this time and retire the metal turner that I have for it. And today I got one that was made out of silicone. I got the Oxo Good Grips one. Their stuff's usually pretty decent. So I'll be using that from now on to see if it treats the coating of the pan any better. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And this one comes from Spinning Plates 269, and the question was, what is your favorite type of sandwich cookie? And today's answer comes from, let's see, Undead Froggo. Over here in Australia, we have a biscuit called kookaburras. They come as delicious butter biscuits or chocolate biscuits, either with lemon curd, sandwiched between two, or raspberry jam. My favorite is the butter and raspberry. Those sound very, very nice. Thank you very much for your answer, Undead Froggo. A reason to visit Australia. Unless I can order them online. I was able to get Tim Tams online, and I did do the Tim Tam Slam. Probably not expertly, but I did do it. Anyway, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.